Thanks for checking out this horror debate series video. So once again, you will watch and get all my answers here in this video, and then you will go to your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete's channel, which is linked in my description. If you haven't already, this may be the second stop for you. But in that case, once you're done watching both of ours, you're hearing our arguments for who we've picked as the best horror movie remake. Well, second best in a sense, I'll tell you in a minute. You can come back to my channel, go to the community tab, and vote for who you thought was the best. And I actually have the option now of a tie, because there are some people who are just like, I just can't decide. So we put that option for you guys, just so you know. So anyway, disclaimer, I just said second best, because when Uncle Pete and I talked about this, we were like, okay, we definitely want to talk about the best horror movie remake. But we were both like, I mean, I think he literally said first, who's going to take the thing? And I was like, it's too easy. I was like, what if we just discount that? We don't talk about the thing. Nobody picks the thing because it's too easy of a choice. It is too universally kind of known as like the best horror movie remake. So this really is the second best horror movie remake, according to each of us. Leaves the field a little more wide open because the thing is just like so far ahead of so many other films in my opinion and in his opinion. So for that reason, we took the thing off the table. But just know that we both agree the thing is the best horror movie remake. So let me talk about what I picked for this video. I ended up picking Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978, and I'm about to go over my reasoning, which I have a decent amount, I think. First of all, the cast. This is one of the things a lot of people talk about when they talk about this film. You have people like Veronica Cartwright, Brooke Adams, then even bigger names, Jeff Goldblum, Leonard Nimoy, Donald Sutherland. And it's not just that these are big names, but the performances are so good in this film that they bring these characters to life. They make them interesting, they make them feel real, and it's magnetic. You know, these performances are magnetic on the screen, especially, in my opinion, Donald Sutherland, and then also Leonard Nimoy as kind of like the good and the bad side of things. So yeah, the cast, phenomenal. Means the acting, phenomenal. The practical effects for the invading organisms look outstanding and creepy, and they do it from the very beginning. All done in practical effects. I don't even know how they did it in the beginning with when the little like goop kind of like lands on the plant, and it's on the leaf, and then you start having these little like tendrils coming out of it. I mean, it looks amazing. They really went above and beyond with the practical effects. A lot of the stuff looks disgusting. It looks scary. It looks creepy. So well handled. And, you know, I don't want to say anything bad about the 1956 film that this is basically, well, is kind of a remake of, but really it's based off the novel. So, you know. But it's the 56 one in comparison, like, they did what they could for its time, but the thing is, this is an update 22 years later, and there's a huge leap forward in something like practical effects, and they didn't just go for good enough, they went for it. They went so hard on these practical effects to make sure they looked the best they could, and I think they did the story justice in that sense, and in a lot of other ways. The health department angle for this, I thought was very interesting. I like that. That's not an angle in the 1956 version. Actually, one of the funny things about the side note, one of the funny things about the 56 version is that when I first saw it, I just became so aware of how much they drink in that film. Like, all the time, they're just like, oh, let's go have a drink while we talk near this dead body, or let's go talk near this body snatcher pod, and let's have a drink while we do it. My favorite part is when the guy breaks into the other guy's house. The guy finds him there, and he's just like, oh, that's fine. You'll want a nightcap? But, you know, that's just a little side diversion. But, yes, the health department aspect of this with Donald Sutherland and Brooke Adams' character working for the health department, I thought was really interesting. It gives them an interesting knowledge base for going off of to try and figure things out, and it's just I don't know, it's not something you see in film a lot. People, being involved with the health department. So yeah, it's shot very well. That's another huge thing. It is shot very well. Philip Kaufman shot this one, and he did a really, really, really nice job with it. It's not just that things are framed really well. There are a lot of interesting shots with interesting camera angles. It's done in a competent film way, but it's also done a little bit artistically, so it's a little further than what you would think for just your regular film release. The characters are so well written and their interactions are so great. Now, again, this does speak back to the whole acting, the cast being amazing at what they're doing, but there's also an aspect of the writing. The script writing is so good for this film that these characters, the dialogue is extremely well written, even though it's also very well delivered. The relationships that they build through the writing and through the storytelling of this feel realistic, and you care, you legitimately care about these relationships that are forged in the film. And in some instances, you're kind of coming in and those relationships already exist. But yeah, it's just really good characters, really interesting. Especially, when they start the film and they're going through the whole thing with Donald Sutherland's character in the restaurant where he finds the rat turd. I mean, that alone just grabs your interest. And you're just like, this is an interesting character, the way he interacts with people. He's kind of a jerk, but he's kind of, also really nice and, kind of light and funny at the same time. So you're just like, yeah, he's kind of a jerk, but kind of really like this guy. So yeah. It's a great update from the original that was 22 years prior, especially because it's similar, but it's also really different. I think this was a good instance of where they didn't disrespect the 1956 film. They kept a lot of it because obviously it's based off the story that one is also based off of. So they kept a lot of the core stuff, but they elaborated. They made changes. They made it their own film, and they made it their own experience. So these two films, even though they are kind of similar, they also feel extremely different, and you literally could watch them back to back and definitely feel like, yes, there's a connective thread here, but they're two very separate films that are very good for their respective decades. Just saying. It does a great job of building paranoia. That's one of the big things, and it's done at a really good pacing that kind of starts to grow it larger and larger in scale. So the paranoia starts very small with Brooke Adams' character being afraid of her husband, or being afraid something's going on with her husband because he's acting different, because he's the first person we know of becoming a pod person, in essence, and getting body snatched, if you will. So the paranoia is very small because it's just within her relationship, and then you start to see more people within the community, and then it becomes more people and more people and more people. So they do such an amazing job of gradually growing it, which helps with growing that paranoia. Also, going into the whole paranoia is the score. It's a very strange, oddly kind of off-sounding score that also gives you that little bit of a outer space aspect to it as well, because that's where this organism has come from. And it works so well to make you feel what the characters are feeling of, I can't trust anyone here. And even when you're knowing who the main characters are, you literally are having times where you're like, yeah, but we haven't seen them for a little bit. Are they still who they were? And they do such a good job of making you feel that and making you think that way, that you're immersed in that paranoia that's going on within the film. It's very good filmmaking. The score adds a lot because it's often strange, like I said. And then the last thing is, the ending goes hard. It is a very impactful ending, especially because Donald Sutherland's character is the main character you've been following since the very beginning. You feel probably the most attached to his character, at least I did. And for things to end the way they do with it, with him opening his mouth and pointing and that noise coming out that you immediately know means that he's done for, it's not him anymore. Your heart sinks, because you felt so invested in this character, and that speaks to the wonderful filmmaking and just how they created this thing as a whole. I think it's an excellent film, and yeah, those are all my arguments for why I chose Invasion of the Body Snatchers for 1978. It's actually one that had been on my list to watch for a long time, and I just watched it for this purpose because I was going through all these remakes, and I'm like, I've heard the Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 78 is really good, so I should really check that one out. Obviously, I consider a lot of other films because there are plenty of remakes that I really enjoy, including like, you know, The Blob or what else am I had it in my head. Oh, Bram Stoker's Dracula, you know, things like that. Actually, a lot of like Dracula type films, but yeah, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. Again, watch Uncle Pete's video. You finished mine at this point. Vote on the community tab. Also comments. You know, put comments in mine. Put comments in his. And if you want to copy and paste, because obviously we're not going to read each other's comments necessarily, that's totally fine. You can just do the same comment for both of us and save yourself a little bit of trouble of commenting on both of them. But we love to hear from everyone, and, you know, give us your picks. What would you have picked in this situation? What do you think is basically this? Well, you may even disagree with our pick of The Thing being the best. So what's your second best, or what's the best in your opinion if it's not The Thing? Or even if it is The Thing, we can talk about that too. It doesn't matter. I'm open. Do me a quick favor, and Uncle Pete a quick favor. Hit subscribe to both of our channels. Hit the notification bell for both of our channels. Hopefully people are enjoying this series. People seem to be based off the comments, but we're keeping it going. You never know what topic we're going to pull up in this debate series. But thank you everyone for watching, and until next time, keep it brutal.